OpenAI, they just dropped their biggest developer platform update yet, and it completely changes just how we build AI agents. So if you've been manually stitching together different tools, workflows, chat interfaces, that could potentially end today. So I'm going to show you what just became possible, and we're going to talk about it here. One of the first things that we'll talk about is what they call Agent Kit. This gives you one unified toolkit for building, for deploying, for optimizing AI agents. So if you haven't built AI agents yet, this is probably one of the simpler ways that you could give this a shot if you want to make one on your own. The Agent Builder has a visual canvas with versioning for multi-step workflows. You've got ChatKit, which is an embeddable chat UI, so you don't have to build your own chat front end. Then you got the connector registry. This is a centralized tool and data connectors that you can use to be able to manage across all of your projects. Okay, you can connect to like MCPs, different tools, Gmail, all these different applications. They've upgraded their evals, which lets you do data sets, trace grading, prompt optimization, and so much more. The other big thing they announced was apps inside of ChatGPT. Now, you guys probably remember they released something called plugins a while back. It didn't really take off. They tried to have the GPTs, and the GPTs didn't really take off. People used it, but it wasn't there. But now what you could do is truly build apps that live directly inside of ChatGPT. This almost reminds me of when the App Store came out on the iPhone. Okay, there's massive opportunity, and Sam is looking at a way to be able to monetize this in the future. Of course, they've upgraded stuff with Codex, which is their coding agent, better SDK. They've integrated into Slack and so many other things. So all is available now. And so what I thought we could do in this session is, one, I'm going to show you a high level demo, and we're going to dive into the OpenAI platform. I'm going to show you the agent builder, and we're going to look at some example use cases for these agents, and I'll show you around so you get a high level overview and have an understanding on what's there. Then I'm going to show you how I digested this information, how I can take a video from YouTube from the live talk, from the live keynote that happened on Dev Day the other day, and took that into Alphana to be able to distill and extract the information from it, and then we'll create content from it. That's our session for today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Again, if you want me to cover anything else, please go ahead, drop it into the chat right now. Right now, what you're seeing, I'm inside of OpenAI. Now, how do I get there? Essentially, if you want to come in and create a workflow or to use an agent, you can go to platform.openai.com, and then you can click on Agent Builder on the left, or just go directly to Agent-Builder. Now, this is what's pretty cool with their Agent Builder, okay? You could literally build with the drag and drop interface any agent workflow that you want. But you're probably like, well, what do I need an agent for? Well, there's a couple use cases, and I'm going to look at some of these templates so you could take a look at them. So one of them could be data enrichment, okay? Data enrichment, you'll essentially create a workflow where you'll put together a bunch of data in order to be able to answer questions from a user. And that user could be you, someone on your team, or anything like that, right? And when you click in here, you get this canvas where you can now pretty much interact with all the elements on here. You've got on the left sidebar, you've got your core pieces like your agent and note. You can select tools like file search, guardrails, and MCP. I'll cover a little bit of what these are shortly, but you have access to these different tool sets that you can use to be able to drag and drop and create these agents inside of the agent builder. And so this one in this case is a simple workflow to be able to research a set of companies using web search and provide a summary analysis. This is a simple agent, okay? Right? We don't want to get too complicated here for now. So here I've got my start point, right? And my start is going to be input as text. This means that when I preview and I go into a chat, I'm going to be able to input a text to be able to start and trigger what this workflow is going to do. And that could be something like go analyze, NVIDIA or XYZ, right? All right, so if I come over here and now I've got my second piece, it's like, all right, after I start and ask a question, what do I want it to do? In this case, I wanted to find a company information using the web. So what do? We have a web research agent. So if I click on the web research agent, you're going to see now this small little pop-up on the right that shows you, okay, we've got a web research agent, and here are the instructions to this agent. Now, if I click expand to expand this prompt, this is going to show me what this agent's going to do. And so in this case, it says, you are a helpful assistant. Use web search to find information about the following company I can use in a marketing asset based on the underlying topic. Very simple prompt. Now, for those of you who have been following me along, you know that we like to enhance and provide more details in these prompts. We are keeping it simple and we're seeing what's here. Not every single one of these needs something very complicated, but in this case, this is what we have. Now, we get a couple options with these agents, which is pretty cool, okay? Number one, you can include the chat history if if there is a chat history, anytime that this agent's going to run. Here you could choose the AI model that's going to go out and do the web research. In this case, it's using GPT-5 Mini. It's much faster and it's good at going out to go find existing research. It's not making things up or reasoning on its own. So you can go Mini and it's going to be much faster to be able to get your results. But if you want to go deeper, you want to use GPT-5 Pro, you can use that as well. Not a problem. Reasoning effort, we have it at low right now. If you need something that has to do very high reasoning, coding, math, or anything that's really, you want it to spend more time thinking before it gives you an answer, you could set that to medium or high, right? Now what do we got here? Tools. Now in this case, it doesn't have access to a specific tool. If I come in here, you can come in here and you can enable any particular tool you want. So I can connect to a client tool. Some of this is technical, so we won't go too deep, but hosted, we can connect to an MCP server, which allows you to connect to potentially thousands of other applications, right? File search is if you want to be able to upload files for it to automatically go refer to. Okay. And then other tools would be like web search, which is right what we want to do. We want to go online and be able to research this particular item, or code interpreter if you wanted to write code for you. Now, in this case, let me see. So in this case, what we want for the web research agent, obviously, we want it to be able to have access to web search, okay? And so in here, you can configure the web search tool. Now, this is all optional, but if what you're doing is relevant to a specific city or a region or a country, you can do that here so that the search results are as if somebody was searching in that particular region, okay? If it doesn't matter, you could just leave it open and it'll just do it based on whatever it thinks it should do. Okay. And then in this case, for the search context size, you could select how much of that search content you want to be able to add in here. And so you can go medium, high, or low. You know, it just depends. If you really need a lot more sources, go ahead. Click on high, right? But if you just need something a little bit more balanced, go ahead and hit medium. It'll probably be much faster. And this is the cool part, right? If you don't want it searching the entire internet, you want it to be very specific on the different websites you want it to go to, then in here you could just list out, comma separated, each of the domains or websites that you want it to be able to be limited to. In this case, I don't need to. We're just going to have web search, let it search the internet, and that's it. Now, after it does the research, what do you want the agent to do? You want it to go ahead now and summarize and display those results for the user. And so if you look in here, I've got, okay, put the research together in a nice display using the output format described. Okay, very simple prompt. Now, what's good here is right here, there's an output format. Okay. Now, this is something new that came out with OpenAI and what you could do with these workflows. They have different visual ways to be able to display the content. So instead of just having a super simple chat interface where all you're seeing is plain text, you could actually visualize it using widgets. And so in this case, you see it's got a widget that it's selected. So again, you can have it output in text if you want. You could do a JSON if you want to use it in that way, or in this case, we have a widget. Now, if I click on this widget, this is what's cool. It shows me a preview. Now, I wish it would show it more zoomed out, but what it's going to do is instead of just displaying text, it has this widget that's like a little table. You guys see that? So it shows you the company name. It pulls up the industry, the headquarters like Austin, Texas, the company size, the website URL, but it does it in this like little card style, right? And that's pretty cool because then I can have this little view details button and a close button. So instead of, again, the basic raw text that usually comes in, you have something like this with this widget. So, and if I click on edit, it should open up a new tab. And what it's going to show me here, here's a full size render. Perfect. And this is showing you now what this widget looks like. This is what's going to appear inside of the platform. And then look at that. I could go dark mode, light mode, and you can see what this looks like. All right. Again, if you've got questions, please go ahead, drop that into the chat. Now that we've got this widget, this is all configured. I'm going to go ahead and hit preview, right? And I'm going to go ahead and test the workflow. And so in this case, maybe we could say we're going to send a message and, you know, maybe it's like analyze Apple, right? Let's just see what that does. So what's happening now? This agent started, it's going through web research, and you can see here it's breaking down the steps of what's happening with this particular agent. And right now it's searching the web to be able to pull up all the different results, the information, everything that it has. We're going to let that run for a minute. Again, if you've got questions, drop it into the chat, but you're going to see here. All right. So look, it searched the web. It's got Apple. You'll see here, it's reasoning through it, looking at all the details, it's summarizing, and the result. Check this out. Remember the widget. Now it's displaying it here in this card format, right? It's a technology consumer electronics company. They're based in Cupertino, California. Their company size is about 164,000 employees. This is the founded year and a description. This shows you what that result looks like. Now, this is pretty cool because this widget could be attached and you can embed on any website if you wanted to, as an example, right? So this is one example of a agent. I want to see if there's one here that's a little bit more robust so you can see what that looks like. Let me see. We've got this one, which I'll show you, but let me see, a planning helper. This is a planning helper. This is to help, like, if you were to have an agent that would help to triage what's happening. So of course, if I start, or let's click on triage as an example, and let's read what this is. So in this case, it's you're an assistant that gathers the key details needed to create a business initiative plan. Look through the conversation to extract the following. Number 1, initiative goal, what the team or organization aims to achieve. Number 2, target completion date or time. Or number 3, available resources or current capacity, headcount, budget, tool access, right? So this is already set. It gives me the information, and then it goes through a condition, right? Because we want to know, like, all right, is there any information missing? If so, let's go ahead and ask the user. Okay. And that's what's happening in this case. Now over here, it's going to go into 2 different directions. If it's true and everything's okay, it's going to launch the helper. And in this case, this helper agent, what it's going to do is come up with a tailored plan to help the user run a new business initiative, consider all the details they provided, and offer a succinct bullet point list for how to run that initiative. You can use the web search tool to get additional context and synthesize a succinct answer that clearly explains how to run the project, identifying unique opportunities, highlighting risks, and laying out mitigations that make sense. So that's what it's going to do here. And you're going to see in this agent, right? Okay, yes, we're including the chat history. It's using GPT 4.1 mini versus the other AI model. So what's cool is that each agent can run a different AI model depending on what's important for it, right? In this case, it has access to the web search tool, and it's just going to come out as text, right? Now, you get a lot of control on this as well. But if it wasn't true, you'll see here that it runs through another agent that's going to ask for more information, like collect the missing data from the user. So look through the conversation to extract the following, like initiatives, target completion date, and available resources. And now the user can input that information before it generates the content. You know, I'm going to show you one use case that has to do with content. What I did was I went in, I got all of Alphana's transcripts, and I just created something super simple. Okay. In this case, I created an agent, and I'm going to read it here. It says, you are a helpful assistant. You have access to a series of YouTube transcripts from Alphana's YouTube channel. You will use this tool to help find answers to questions or help them create more content. All right. So what did I do in this case? Okay. What I did was I came over here, and if I go on ahead to tools, I added a tool called file search. Okay. Now, when you do file search, what you could do is you could drag and drop files directly into here so that it has reference to that information. So what's cool about this? Do you have all your transcripts in a folder, or do you have a bunch of documents about your company that you want to be able to understand? It could be like SOPs, it could be brand guidelines, information, it could be like customer support tickets, just about anything. And so what I did was I downloaded all of my transcripts, right? If I come over here, let me see if I can go to downloads, right? Transcripts. So I have here all of my transcripts. You'll see that right here. And I selected all of these as my transcripts, and I'm like, all right, I want to use all of this information for my data. And I uploaded it. And once I uploaded it, this is what it looks like. Okay, I want to show you the one that I already did. And you can see here now that I've got all my transcripts that I uploaded. So now what we did is we gave it all this knowledge and feedback from it so it can use it to be able to help answer questions. Of course, you could set up things like, all right, which AI model do you want to use? How much reasoning? You could see the verbosity. So like, do you want it to, write a lot more, a lot less? You could kind of set that if you want to. Now, I didn't build a widget for it. So, there's some cool things that we could do with widgets, but in this case right now, the output is just plain text. Okay, but if I wanted to, I could select a widget, it would open up and I can select one from the library. But in this case, I just want it to be as text. So this is a very simple agent, right? Now that I've got all my transcripts. Now, of course, in Alphana, right, you've probably uploaded a ton of your videos already. So you can go into Alphana, you could copy your transcripts and just paste them into a text and save them on your computer. That's one way to be able to get a lot of your transcripts if you don't have them already. I'm going to go ahead and hit preview, and I'm going to put in here and be like, hey, analyze all my YouTube video titles and, pick out the top 3 and also give me an idea or give me 5 options for a new YouTube title based on the way we write. My writing right now is not the best, but new YouTube titles based on the way that we wrote the past ones based on this topic. Okay, and I'm just going to paste like what happened at the OpenAI event and how to use it for your brand. So this is kind of a little bit about what happened in this session. I'm covering a little bit about what happened at the OpenAI live event that happened this week. And maybe I wanted to analyze all of my titles from YouTube instead of drafting a brand new one. And so right now what it's doing is it's reviewing all of the YouTube videos, all the titles from those videos. It's going to determine what the top ones are because I asked for it. I didn't have to, but I asked for it. And then what it should be doing is going to now, based on the topic that I have, it's going to try to rewrite it to fit now this new video so we can have a title option. Let me see if I can move my face down more. I wish I could kind of position this. Let me see. Hopefully all of you can see it. You can see what's happening. I don't know if this one works out better. Should be almost done. You see it's searching all the files. So it's great. You know, it's searched, it's reasoning, it's going through the different titles here. Look at this. I mean, if somebody were to do all this work manually, I mean, imagine how many hours are being saved by being able to use an agent like this or using the agent that we have inside of Alphana to be able to do all your other content repurposing. It's just insane. All right, let's see. Should be almost done. It's reasoning. It's got that part. Now it's going to pick out the final one. Hey, all right, what do we have here? Let's see. So it took all my titles and picked out some of the best ones, right? Stop throwing away 80% of your content, turn one YouTube video into 50 plus visual assets, Spotify plus YouTube, the new power combo for podcasters. So these are examples of some of the top titles that it reviewed. What consistently works in your titles, they got clear outcomes, numbers, and step-by-steps. Exactly the YouTube best practices you call out in your own guidance for title generation. Yeah, so, we actually, what's that term, right? Like we eat our own dog food as an example, right? And this is what we practice, right? You want to have a clear outcome, numbers or step-by-steps inside of the titles. We have inside of Alphana already a framework. That's how we generate our titles actually. Transformations are framed. So if you want a good YouTube title, go from X to Y and time cues. Like in this example, turn one video into 50 plus assets in minutes. So this is a concrete promise and timeline. And then curiosity plus credibility stacking. So numbers, year, tags, playbook. So it's a research-led tactic you showcase in your GPT-5 demo where 2025 playbook angle is recommended after analyzing high click-through rate formats. Timely newsjacking angles tied to what's trending. Another pattern you highlight in your workflow. By the way, this is something that I cover in one of my past YouTube videos is newsjacking, and that's exactly what I'm doing with this session as we speak, right? And then last but not least, you also advocate for A/B testing titles, which aligns with your multiple option title refresh approach. So we are using this agent builder to be able to pull out from all of my past YouTube transcripts to see all of the best titles and what was good about them. And it narrowed down my top 3 right here. And I'm just going to say it out loud for those that are only listening. So stop throwing away 80% of your content. AI turns one video into 7 posts. So this title has a strong pain, quantified payoff, and a parenthetical proof. All right, the second best one was turn one YouTube video into 50 visual assets in minutes. It was crisp X to Y, promise with speed and urgency, okay? The third one that was picked out was how to clone any viral video script in your voice. Beat creative paralysis. It's got a big promise, any, right? As an example, it's got an audience benefit. So it's in your voice. So it's going to be personalized to you and attention breaking parenthetical. I got to say that word better. Parenthetical. All right. So this is all from past videos that I've covered in sessions on Insider Live and the titles that we've used for these videos. And this is how it's pinpointing the top ones. So now for this session that I'm using to newsjack what's happening, right? We're borrowing some key event that's happening and I'm tying that into this video today, while at the same time, I'm educating you on what was released and we're going to tie that to how that works inside of Alphana. And based on those titles and our style, it came up with 5 more. So let's see what new 5 titles it came up with, right? All right. What OpenAI just launched at live and how to use it to 10x your brand. Check that out. All right. The second one, OpenAI Live, 7 updates you can use to grow your brand this week. Not bad. All right. How to turn OpenAI Live's new features into content, funnels, and sales. All right. That's another good one. OpenAI Live to brand playbook, the step-by-step plan for 2025. And last but not least, OpenAI Live plus your brand equals 5 wins you can ship today. So you could see how now we took this by analyzing batch of our past YouTube videos, understood what they were talking about and their titles. It came up with our best performing ones and generated 5 brand new titles that we can use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this so I don't lose it, because I haven't published this yet and it's not going to save it right now. But now I've got this. I can now refer back to this after our session and see if we use one of these titles for this session. So this is pretty cool. So now we've got this workflow. Now you're probably thinking like, well, great, we've got this workflow. How am I supposed to use it, right? Well, that's what's cool, is that I could publish this, right, and deploy it. And this is, might get a little bit more technical, but you can now, what it'll do is it'll give you, let me see if I could do this, right? A code snippet. And using their new ChatKit that they released, right? We can copy this workflow ID to power a chat that we can embed inside of another app, inside of a website, or you could just simply come here and use it anytime that you need to. So it's got a lot of different use cases. Like I said, they came out with the agent builder. They came out with something called ChatKit, which gives you the embeddable UI that you can use. They have an agents SDK. Again, this is more for developers, but just for people out there, it's just a way for people to use to be able to build more of these AI agents in a very simple way. Okay, so this is super powerful. Now, I'm not going to connect one right now, but I want to show you one of the things that I think is really, really cool and important is that they have integrations with MCPs. So for example, in here, if I click add, you literally can connect now to so many different sources. I can connect to Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Drive, Dropbox, any of these things. You can even go to third party. I mean, here's one. Connect to Zapier. And on Zapier, you've got now like 8,000 other apps that you can integrate to. So imagine a workflow where you can have it generate something and then automatically, trigger to put something inside of your Google Sheets, create a spreadsheet, or to upload files somewhere for you on your Google Drive, right? Or to go search your inbox and based on, the past 10 customer complaints, create a set of knowledge-based articles or responses back to those customers, right? The opportunities are endless. If I think about Shopify, it's like, hey, go update my Shopify store, or whatever products with a new product that was just launched today. I'm just giving an example, right? Or go tell me what my latest revenue looks like on Stripe. And you can have workflows that do different things, put it together on a table. I mean, the options are endless because now you can connect to any one of these MCP servers. Let me pause right there. Anybody got any questions or anything like that? Let's see what we got here. I'm going to look at that. Just Alphana is revolutionary. Thank you. I appreciate that. You'll definitely be catching the replay. Alphana is astronomical. Thank you so much. Yes, definitely. We're going to send out a replay. You'll have access to this. You can watch it again. Love the tool. It is making my day sane. I love it. I really, really appreciate that. All right. Well, let's keep going. I want to make sure I can cover, but this is high level on agents. The other ones I'll show you is guardrails, just quick thing, right? We all know that AI doesn't do things all the time the way it needs to be. And what I love about guardrails is that you can add these in steps in between things. And it could be things like, hey, let's say we fed it a whole data set of like files, and it might have personally identifiable information, but reality is you don't want it to display that information. You want to keep that private. And so this will detect and redact any personal identifiable information. You can have that enable as a guardrail before it continues in the flow, right? You could have moderation, right? Depends on what you're looking for, but it can classify and block harmful content. That could be hate, harassment, sexual content, right? Jailbreaking, right? Detects prompt injection and jailbreak attempts to the model on task. Jailbreaking is like if somebody's trying to like go bypass the guardrails of what the AI agents have, like, if it's very strict, like for people that are 18 and over and people are trying to jailbreak it for kids. I mean, there's just so many different reasons why you want to make sure that you could have protections on that. If you want to protect it over hallucination, hallucination will detect potential hallucination by validating a lot of the input against the knowledge source. So hallucinations are like when it makes up something that really wasn't there in the data, right? AI can do that sometimes, so you want to be cautious. So guardrails are cool because you can add this in between different steps and you can connect everything together. Like, all right, I got a YouTube agent, I want it to have some guardrails. And if it passes, then I want it to go to an MCP. And then once it goes to an MCP, I want it to then trigger this agent based on the data that I got from the MCP. So, and then you can have it go through another guardrail, right? Because maybe now the agent's going to produce some content. Am I doing that right? So I guess what I'm saying is that this really allows you to come up with creative ideas on workflows. Maybe in another session, we could talk more about more use cases, but I think this is something very useful. I definitely encourage everyone to try. Now, I do want to show you the widgets. I thought this was pretty good. So let me go ahead and pull, how do I get to the widgets quickly? Let me see, output. All right, let's go create a widget. And what I want to do is actually go to the gallery. All right. So if you remember earlier when I mentioned, so OpenAI came out with widgets. Widgets are like these interactive, beautiful components that can be used inside of ChatGPT. So instead of getting a raw text response, like check this out. Like for example, if you say, hey, what's the weather today? Instead of it telling you it's 69 degrees in San Francisco, right? It can display this beautiful widget right here. Like, look at this, right? It shows you the weather, tells you partly sunny skies, and then it shows you, what is this, maybe an hour by hour of what the weather is, right? So what's cool is that ChatGPT can now become a little bit more rich and visualize and show you content in a different way. Another one is like, hey, you know, I don't know, what is this one doing? It's showing from like how many points, yards, and tackles that it's had, right, from sports. It could visualize that widget of a player. It also integrated and has apps with Spotify. So for example, you can use an app with Spotify to generate a new playlist for you. And what's cool is that now that it has these widgets, it could display the songs from Spotify in a widget that looks exactly like this, which is pretty cool. Right now, so it's got all these, right? You've got components that shows you like projects. I told you the weather, email. So if you're having it draft an email for you, right? I mean, wouldn't it be cooler that it could show you in a nice little widget like this? Flights. So if you look up flight information, you can automatically have it displayed in here. So this is something that I think is really cool, very handy. And so we should see a lot more of it. I won't go into detail, but that's the widget builder. I thought that you guys should see. They also have a playground, so you could see if you were to configure a new chat. And then ChatKit World was something that they built out to show you. So you can essentially, for example, like, you know, do something like guess the country or something like that, right? It gives you a riddle, and then I can come in and, you know, select, or like take me to China, and then it'll break out information based on it. So I think this is overall something very cool and visual, right? And look at that, right? It took me to China. And of course, my phone's ringing at the same time. And so it took me to China, breaks it down. It gives you a little interactive map, but it shows you how you could now build these different tools in this way. Okay. How did I learn about everything that's happening? Well, one, I'm always staying up to date with what's happening in tech. Okay. OpenAI Dev Day was super important for us as a tech company, especially because we build AI applications to be able to help you with your content workflows. Okay. And so there's a lot of things that they do that's there, but some of it might be a little bit more technical. We try to abstract the technical pieces and build into our products ways that make it super simple for you. Okay. And so of course, we're always keeping up with what's happening, but there's stuff happening and changing every single day. Right. And so, you know, OpenAI had their live keynote. Okay. I watched it live, and this is almost an hour long, 50 minutes. Okay. And this was happening obviously in San Francisco, and they kind of went through demo of all the different components. But if I wanted to understand and learn a lot more from it, what am I going to do? Of course, what I do is I copy the YouTube link. So I just copied the URL. And then what's cool is I can come into Alphana, and when I click inside of Alphana, what I want to do is now bring in that video into Alphana so that I could distill information from the video, learn from it, and I can come in here and click create. And what's cool is that we could drop any YouTube video. Okay. So if I click on add YouTube video and I want to learn about the OpenAI event and what was happening, I can come in here to hit import. Okay. Now for time, I already imported this video, but I wanted to show you how this could be done. Okay. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to click create, and I'm going to click on add YouTube or upload, and I'm going to reuse a video that I already uploaded in my library. Okay. Now, when I come in here, you're going to see I have the video, OpenAI Dev Day, build ChatGPT apps faster, agents with Agent Kit, etc. I'm going to click create. Okay. Now, what do I want to do? I want to learn everything that's happening at the event. That's the first step. Okay. And so I'm going to click here right on top, turn video into tips and lessons. I'm going to go ahead and hit generate. Now, when I go to hit generate, I could have it personalized a little bit more. How do I want it to talk to me, right? The text, conversational, friendly, professional. I'll just leave it there. My target audience, in my case, it was for founders. So I'll do that, leave it in English, and I could put more instructions, but I'm going to skip that for now and click next. When I click next, it gives you an option to be able to edit the transcript before I generate content. And so I'm going to say no for now because I don't need to. But if you ever wanted to correct the names of the speakers that were in the video, or to be able to edit words that it might have misspelled in the transcript, you can do that here. And now at the bottom, I clicked on generate. And what that's going to do now is import the video, create a brand new project inside of Alphana, analyzes the content from the video, and it's going to generate, if you look on the left, now it's going to generate a series of speaker notes. So it's going to distill all the information for me. Okay, so I could read it very, really carefully. And then I have it personalized to say, okay, now after you watch the video, give me some advice and tips for founders, right? And over here, you'll see, by the way, content's generating live on the screen. I've got lessons learned. So what are all the lessons that were learned from this event so I can understand it? What are some of the core beliefs that were discussed? Break it down for me. Now give me some motivational takeaways from the video, right? And then last but not least, we want to find bite-sized clips that we can use to either repurpose or for me to just watch the highlights of the event. And so when you don't have time to watch an entire video, you could do this on any video that you pull on from YouTube or a podcast or anything like that. This is also helpful if you want to see what comes out of it from putting in your own video, a webinar, a podcast that you recorded, or a conference call that you had on Zoom with a client or someone else, and you can bring that in here and check that out. Right? Still writing, still putting it together, very detailed. So if I were to look at this video, what we talked about, right? High level summary. Sam Altman and the team unveil apps inside of ChatGPT, Agent Kit for agents, a stronger Codex coding agent, and new models for GPT-5 Pro and Sora 2 to help developers build faster. Okay, beautiful, super simple summary, and then it breaks down the key takeaways. So again, what happened at the OpenAI event? Okay, it states that back in 2023, there were over 2 million weekly developers, and now there's over 100 million weekly ChatGPT users. The API processed 300 million tokens per minute in 2023. And it reports today that there's over 4 million developers that have built with OpenAI, says that more than 800 people use ChatGPT every week, or 800 million people that use ChatGPT every week. And the API now processes over 6 billion tokens per minute. You can launch the apps in the SDK in preview and to build apps inside of ChatGPT. Launches Agent Kit with Agent Builder, ChatKit, evals for agents, all available starting today. Announces Codex is out of research preview and it's now in GA. Announces GPT-5 Pro is now available to API to all developers. And now we've got Sora 2 as preview in the API, which I am personally super excited about. You guys probably saw my session last week and all the cool videos that we created with Sora 2, but now it's available in the API for developers to be able to take that and to be able to create more from it. So, you know, this is a useful one. It goes through key takeaways. It breaks down the topics in even more detail. Like, look at this, right? If you just had 5 minutes and you wanted to skim and read through this, you could see all the apps that were out that they released with Zillow and all these different companies. And it breaks it down, very detailed notes on it. So this is probably one of the first things that I would do. I pull it in here, learn about it. You could watch the video if you'd like to. And we let that kind of finish. Any questions so far, drop into the chat or comments. I'm going to go ahead and check that right there. Let me put that on the screen. Is exporting the generated content to a Google Doc, Markdown file, or something else on the roadmap? That's a great question. It is something that we have on the roadmap, our integrations, webhooks, and these other elements. And so stay tuned. I don't have an exact date for you yet, but we are working on a lot of things to be able to enhance that for you. All right. Any other questions? And you see this is still generating. So even companies like OpenAI, okay, right? We talk about repurposing. So now I have an understanding of what's going on here, okay? This is great. This is all generating. Now, what about if I need to repurpose this content, okay? It's no good to do a live session like this and only leave it on YouTube. There's so much more content you can create and you want to get the word out there, right? So when you drop that into Alphana, this was something else I did before on the call. So if you look here at this project, if I go ahead and click on it, okay, and I'll show you how I did that. First, I went to create. This is what I did before this. And I used turn video into social posts because I want to create LinkedIn content, Instagram, X, and extract clips. So I took that video and turned it into social posts. Now, when you come over here, if you look on the sidebar, look at all the content it generated, okay? This one's a simpler one. We generated 10 short form clips or reels. And here's what's great. It took the highlights from the event and did 30 to 60 second snippets of what was happening at the event. So like, here's an opening clip that talks about their growth since 2023. Over here, it talks about how they build real apps. If I keep going, you could see you can ask ChatGPT about what you're watching. Look at that, right? On Coursera. This was a really cool segment. And we provide the titles and the descriptions for it. So you could see that even someone like OpenAI can take this to repurpose their video into short form clips. We generate captions for Reels. So, here's an example caption that you can post for Instagram. If you wanted to grab one of the videos, toss it into Instagram, and you could be like, all right, AI just went from a cool demo to be able to build in minutes. Today, I watched team sketch a poster in ChatGPT, flip it into a pitch deck with Canva, and pull live homes on a Zillow map and even control a stage camera and lights without writing a code by hand. Then an agent was built and shipped on a website in under 8 minutes. Wild. This is literally what this event was about. And if you keep reading, you can see it's got a caption, which has got a great hook. It really draws the person in as you're reading on Instagram. And even with that, we create a series of carousel images. So if you don't want to pair it with a video, you could actually throw these images into Instagram as a carousel with that caption. And so look at this. Look how detailed it went into it, right? Here's one showing Dev Day from Play to Build. Right? And you'll see here on the right, we automatically come up with a prompt based on the context from the video. Okay. So the way, what I showed you with OpenAI's agent builder, it shows you how to make a workflow. Okay. We are doing the same thing in a different way. Okay. If you look at this, this is one particular workflow, but we're just more visual about how you can control that workflow. Okay. Because in this workflow, we are telling the AI, we have an AI agent to go and find the best clips and extract them for me so that I can download them, use AI to automatically reframe them, and I can export as vertical, square, or landscape, right? Then I said, I want this other agent to just strictly go in and write captions. And if I click edit, you could see how detailed our instructions are to the AI to put together what this should look like. Okay, super clear. Then this other card is another agent that's designing images that you can use for Instagram. Okay, and produces the prompt automatically. It's like a copywriter coming up with an idea for these images, providing it to the designer. Now they're creating it. And here's the other image it created. Right now it's revealing apps inside of ChatGPT. Start today. And look at this. You got the laptop with the ChatGPT name and an interface. If I keep going, you got somebody on a whiteboard. It's going from idea to agent in minutes. And look at this. Look at how it's trying to draw the workflow. It's putting it on a screen. And then last but not least, talks about Codex, GPT-5 Pro, and Sora 2, and how it opens new doors. And look how it does these little visuals for each one. Like Sora 2, it's about making video. Look at that, right? It's showing you a scene. GPT-5 Pro is a new AI model, right? You got Codex. Look at this. It even tried to make it look like a code editor, right? Very small. And then Real-Time Mini, which is the audio voice agent, right? That can be in real time, and it did a little player. So look how high quality these images are and how they correlate directly to the event that just happened. And we extracted that all by inputting that content into Alphana to be able to repurpose it and generate a series of images like these. And what's great is that this is one framework or template, a style of images that you can generate inside of Alphana, because if I click on add card, we have an entire library of different pieces of content and workflows that you can use and automatically generate for you. Okay. And in this case, this was just a carousel image, but if I were to type image, we've got a ton. We could generate blog header images, lyric images, quote images, YouTube thumbnails, Instagram thumbnails. The opportunities and the options are endless for what you could do here, right? So you've got these images. They look great. Now it's all right, again, I am repurposing this video. I've got to put out my content. I need to go out now on X or the Threads app with Instagram, right? And here you go. Beautiful thread, automatically structured, covering all the highlights from what was happening in the video. And just look at the hooks and how it draws people in, right? AI apps are moving inside of ChatGPT now. Build once, reach hundreds of millions. This is the new app store hiding in your chat window. So that's the first tweet or thread in the thread, post in the thread. Then you got apps SDK in a nutshell, connect your data, built on MCP, inline picture-in-picture. If you keep going, you'll see how it structures each individual post inside of that thread in a way that keeps people reading and digesting the content for what happened inside of the video. And look at that. Even here, it has a link to put a source. So what you would do is drop a link back to this keynote once you publish this on X or on the Threads app. And then last but not least, it comes up with 3 different LinkedIn posts that you can use to be able to post on LinkedIn, right? And again, they all come baked in with a hook. So like in this case, ChatGPT just became an app platform. You can now build real apps inside of ChatGPT with the new Apps SDK, connect data, trigger actions, and show rich UI. Think, Sketch and Chat, Figma builds it. Brainstorm, Canva makes a poster, plan a move, Zillow opens an interactive map. Okay, these are all things that were covered inside of the session. And I didn't show you this, but you can literally prompt ChatGPT to make you a diagram inside of Figma. It's really, really cool and something very, very useful. But you could see now, as I'm repurposing this OpenAI Dev Day live stream, I'm turning it into 3 different LinkedIn posts. Look at that, right? 3 different posts that you can use to post on LinkedIn. You've got a X Twitter thread. You've got a series of carousel images that could be a post. And by the way, these carousel images will work for Instagram carousels. It'll work for LinkedIn carousels. You can even post these images on X or Threads as just a series of images along with your post, okay? You get a Reels caption and you get 10 unique Reels or short form clips that you can use. Again, post that on Instagram Reels. You can use that on TikTok, on LinkedIn, as well as YouTube Shorts. So the whole thing behind this is we actually did a few things in this video, okay? And I want you to understand what we did here because I think it's super important. One, I hijacked the news of what was happening with OpenAI so that I can teach you about what's happening in tech and how I leverage that to be able to generate a unique piece of content. So when I post this video on YouTube, it should be able to reach more people. But more importantly, I'm teaching you how you could take these live events and turn them into content for yourself, because this was relevant to my industry in terms of being in tech. Yours could be not a OpenAI Dev Day event. It could have been a fitness event. Or if you're a coach, a life coach, it could be something in that world. Or if you're a marketing agency, it could be something related to maybe like the HubSpot marketing conference or something like that, right? And so you can leverage these different events to be able to create content from. Not only that, if you want to learn by what's happening in these events, drop that into Alphana so you could digest it. That's why we have that template and that workflow to be able to use to extract tips and lessons, okay? And then you want to be able to take that content and repurpose it. I mean, how many do we have here? If we've got 1, that's 4, we've got 4 images, 5, 6, 10 clips. So you've got potentially 16 different posts, all from this one project, okay, that you could use to put onto social media and then replicate that against 3 to 5 different social networks, okay? So don't let your content die. Okay, repurpose content whenever you can, leverage what's here. I encourage everyone to go and learn more about these AI agents and see how they can benefit you in your business. If you need help to set these things up, if you need some help to create more content on your behalf because maybe you're juggling a bunch of things, I want you to reach out to me. Go ahead on into Alphana, go into the support chat or log into our community, shoot me a message, and we're working out some programs where we can actually assist you in using AI today. So you let me know. And so I'd love to see if there's any more questions before we wrap it up for the day. If you have your personalization set, is there a way to bypass the personalization screen? Today, there's not a way to bypass it yet, but you could leave it empty. Okay, so when you're on the personalization step, you don't have to fill it all out, and each one is an individual text box. So if I come in here and I just go to the next step as an example, let me just see. All I would recommend, just leave everything empty. Okay. If you leave it empty, it will not affect and it will use all of your settings that you have inside of your custom instructions. So that's why these text boxes, you can just literally leave it empty and then click next. And that's how you can bypass this step, right? So it will always appear, but you can bypass it just by leaving it empty. Hopefully that helps. This is super powerful. Yes. Thank you. I'm glad you found that. Or a soap making event. Yes, this is reference to what we were talking about earlier of specific niches. If you're into soap making, yes, this can definitely work for that as well. Those are high quality images. Very nice. Thank you. Yes. Again, we can make super high quality realistic images, and you can also go super animated if you want to. It's all by editing the prompts. And by the way, I just want to make sure I show you that, because if I come in here and I click on edit, the reason why you see these images are made this way is because we were hyper specific in how we wanted images to be learned. Now, the topic can always change, but we're very structured on how we want the images. You can see that here in the prompt. And what's great is that all of you have access to this once you're in Alphana, and you can make tweaks to how you want the styling if it's important to you to change the style of how these images come about. The Alphana team is pushing boundaries. Thank you. And I'm sure that the team's super happy to hear you say that as well. Everybody's working really hard. Great walkthrough. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate all of you who are on this live stream, submitting your questions. I'm glad this is helpful. You know, if there's anything that you guys want us to cover for our next session, you could go into our community. That's community.alphana.ai and just let us know, right? What do you want covered? And we can walk you through that on how to do it, create these custom workflows for you. Before you go, I just want to make sure, please, if you're on YouTube, I want you to please subscribe, turn on the notification bell. It's super important. Please just hit like on the YouTube video and drop a comment. We're going to put out a replay and it's super important. So as you watch this and when you watch the replay, that just helps us tremendously. And so we give this all away for free. Any tips and tricks, I just love it if you can just drop a comment, like, hit the notification bell. The algorithm really loves it. It helps us and it helps us to reach more people. And I think that's it for today. I'm Sebastian Mourra and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Alphana. So if you ever need anything at all, please don't ever hesitate to reach out. I appreciate all of you. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.